Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Welcome to our Women in Accounting, our next show in this series. It's a wonderful series. Over the last few months, I've had the amazing opportunity, I suppose, to have women in our industry join this show, share their story. And it's been fantastic again, with all the content we've been doing over the last couple of years. It's great to be able to share this and bring different perspectives, I suppose. We always get a high number of females that do register for this particular show, but we also want to thank and a big shout out to the guys that also joined, because, I often get asked questions with regards to, what am I going to learn? How am I going to learn? And, sort of one of the things in bringing in equality into anything, I suppose, is that we can learn anything from anybody. I've got 3 young boys and I learn a lot from my youngest 6-year-old. So these are the sorts of things I want to definitely continue to encourage, that we can always learn from everyone around us. And today is not going to be any different. We've got a lot to share. So stick with us. We'll be running right through till 1 o'clock, because we do have a jam-packed show. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. My name's Paul Jantz. If you're not sure who I am and you maybe have not heard who I am, if you're coming back, welcome back. We are here thanks to Paul Chadwick, Professional Partners Education, and our friends at Profit Master, iKeep, and Lloyd's Auctioneers as well. In truth, it's an interesting one, because we've just gone into daylight saving time. So I feel like it's okay for me to have a glass of red, because it is technically past 12 o'clock somewhere in the world. And it's definitely here in Melbourne, where Mel and I are. But for all you guys in Queensland, I suppose, I only flew in from the Gold Coast this morning. I was on a beautiful 6:05 flight. I don't know what the heck I was doing, but yeah, it's only the morning. So it's morning. Technically, look, I don't mind. If you want to get a glass of wine, or have a glass of bubbles, or cup of tea, jump on board.
I'm going to drink coffee.
As I have a sip. You can have your coffee. So yeah, look, again, it's great to have everyone joining us. We've just had our numbers continue to increase, which is fantastic. Now, just a little bit about PPE, or Professional Partners Education. We're here to provide educational content to all accountants, whether that be through our live shows, whether that be, we've got our Empire Masterclass show, we've got this Women in Accounting show, we've also got our podcast series, which is our Empire podcast and Drive Time podcast series. The whole idea is to provide free educational content to you guys that are listening to this, okay? So it's the way that Paul Chadwick can give a little bit back, and that's what we're doing. So if you want to know all of our previous shows or our previous podcasts, everything is on our YouTube channel. If you go into YouTube and type in Professional Partners Education, we've got a nice little banner up there, PPE TV Plus. So we've stuck with the plus signal for everything, and you'll have all of the previous shows. So this sort of stuff is also for you guys to share with team members. So, we know you've got to do your 40 hours of CPD. So when you've got the ability to learn what we're going to teach you as well through our different shows, please use it, share it with your team members, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get automatic notifications to when we put new content up there. Today's show, it is a special one. Now, I had the pleasure of meeting this vibrant, energetic lady probably about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and we connected straight away. I had Mel on my Chewing the Accounting Fat show last year, which I'm hoping to bring back again, maybe next year in 2023. And look, at probably back then, last year when we did this, it was probably one of the highest ranked shows in terms of audience and audience participation as well. So today will be no different. We're going to tackle a few different topics. We're going to jump on a couple that we spoke about last time as well, which last year we spoke about internal and external growth. So we're going to touch on a little bit of that, but we're also going to talk about the workplace, how it has changed, maybe what has changed, what hasn't changed, what we need to hang on to. We're going to talk about culture in the workplace as well. So in the office, out of the office, as you can tell, I'm not in the office. I'm still working from my home here in Melbourne. So, things have changed a little bit. So we'll talk about that. We're going to touch on the gender pay gap. So this is always an interesting one. And I know it's caused a little bit of it was interesting that the data that came out and the research study that was done. So we're going to talk about that, and probably, if anything, how we can, and get Melanie's point of view to how we can support women moving forward. And I think that's a really important one to get her opinion on this. And then we're going to touch on leadership. So leadership's always a good one. And sort of what are leadership tools that you would require if you're a partner watching this show and you're a leader, fantastic. But, I've always looked at growth from a point of view of how do we continue to grow? And every single day I look to apply that saying, what can I do to help myself to grow, to become a better person, whether that become a better dad or better leader or better work colleague or make a difference to the culture in my office. That is something that I'm continually focusing. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. We do have the chat bar. So if you want to chat about anything, go for it. If you want to ask questions, we will have time at the end. If you want to throw any questions down, we've got the Q&A bar as well there, which I'll moderate for you. Sorry about the long intro. But let me introduce you to my special guest. As a side note to this, I just wanted to make mention of this because one of the key things that when we were in lockdown, if you're not in Melbourne, you probably don't know this, but we were in lockdown for a long time. And one of the key things when about 2 years ago, I remember Mel through LinkedIn, she threw out a bit of a challenge to people that wanted to join it was 2021 back then, 2021 push-up challenge. When we're in lockdown, she was our captain and our leader. So another really inspirational thing that sort of Mel does, and she's got a very broad spreadsheet to her, what she does and how she does it. So she's going to share a bit of that with us. One of the things we did was we brought that together and we did it again this year for 2022. So to give you a bit of an idea, if you do follow me on LinkedIn, you probably would have seen my post. It was I think this year we had to do 3,139 push-ups in 24 days, which is a lot. It's about 130 a day, to be fair. It was all about creating awareness for suicide, mental health. We raised an enormous amount of money. And it was all, again, because of Melissa David and the way that she led our team to achieve what we had to achieve as a team. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to that because you've been overseas and we've caught up a little bit over the phone, but we haven't done this. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Melissa David to our Women in Accounting show. How are you?
I'm so good. And it's nice to be home and sitting in my office in my safe space again. So thank you for having me. And I love your energy too. I feel like we're from the same cloth, you and I.
It is good. It is good. And look, those sort of little initiatives, I suppose, they help us to become better. And that's one of the things one of the key things that I wanted to do this year was, and it probably comes back to my coaching days and maybe a Michael Gerber thing, people that are old enough to know who Michael Gerber is, the E-myth or the entrepreneurial myth, as he calls it. And he talks about working smarter and not harder. And one of the things that I, as a part of my goals this year, was to work smarter and not harder. So working 4 days a week, I don't work 5 days a week. I only work 4 days a week. I dedicate 1 day to call it personal development and my creative space. And one of the things that I've been able to do is following our push-up challenge and the money we raised and the awareness we created was I wanted to do more for mental health. I'm not okay with Are You OK days. So just so everyone knows, because I think Are You OK days for 1 day of the year when there is 365 days in the year or 366 sometimes.
Usually companies don't plan for it and the day comes and then marketing gets called and they're like, we got to make a post so we look okay. And it's like not an actual day.
Exactly. So I'm doing a lot, and you guys will see a lot more that I'm going to be doing in this space as well to work more with companies to raise awareness in this mental health space, because I don't think it's going to get better. It's only going to get worse. So I'm pretty committed to doing that. But this is not about me, although I wanted to share that. This is about you.
It's okay.
So let's start with you. Award-winning professional who's built a growth marketing agency. You've worked with a number of accounting firms as well on a lot of different growth strategies with some amazing results. Currently the CEO of Melissa David Enterprises. Yeah. How about we start with you before we kick off with everything? Share a little bit about you. You've got a really interesting background with the number of things that you've been able to do over your career, let's call it. Tell me about you. Tell us about you.
All right. So currently I am a mentor for Business in Heels. I am an education advisor for We Aspire. I am the American Women's Association here in Australia approached me a couple of years ago to help them rebrand and run the new corporation, not corporation, but the non-for-profit, which I rebranded to Expat Women at Work. And it is an expat society for women that I've built. When I first moved to this country, I felt really alone, and I never wanted another woman to feel that way. So it is for women who first come to this country, and you get a mentor from the country of origin you're from, as well as a mentor from your work. So if you're a nurse, you get to have another expat nurse help you move your license over, as well. If you're from England, you'll have also a cultural person saying, hey, I'm also from England. So it's kind of a community. We have an event on the 22nd, and it is at Railway South. It's going to be women, steak, champagne. It's on my LinkedIn if you want to check it out. And then I'm a founding member of Antipodes Theatre Company, which is a professional theater here in Melbourne, 3 professional shows a year. During lockdown, we created TV shows. We supported over 1,500 artists financially over the 2 years. And I've been looking at warehouses this last week because we are going to cap raise $10 million to build our own theater, which is going to be a bar, a bookstore, 2 theaters inside of it. And it's going to be hopefully in Brunswick. I'm kind of going into the outer, but it's going to take about 5 years to get there.
Yep.
So that's Antipodes. I've built an advisory board for that company. But that baby has grown to a point where I actually get to just enjoy it. And there's working people in it. So like everyone works. I don't have to do anything. I go, hi, I'm here. And they go, that's great. It's working. And then I'm also the founder of a new women's magazine called Reflections With, which I have just paid the woman to actually put the digital magazine together. So we have all the information, and that's coming out by the end of the year. And then my bread and butter is MDE, which is my company where I help professional services with growth and engagement. And the main part of that right now is marketing, because most professional services need marketing.
Yes.
Accounting firms and law firms have a tendency to believe that they do not need to be seen online. And what happened during lockdown and COVID is they all realized immediately that they needed to have an online presence and an online resume. So most of my packages for my clients have to do with that, as I do online marketing for social media specifically. So Instagram's my main baby, LinkedIn's my second baby, and then I have a lot of children. And then I do Twitter, I do Facebook, I do Google, I do making sure the reviews are website as well, but I have other people that build websites. I'm just a translator. I also help with mergers. A lot of accounting firms are merging. And when you have 2 accounting firms that have been around for 30 years and they say, we want to keep our branding and keep our marketing, and then you have to figure out how they go together. I think that I do well because I'm that perfect generation between old world and new world.
Yes.
So I am the age where I didn't have Facebook till I was 16, but I grew up in the Silicon Valley. So my uncles were the software engineers for Apple. My cousin married into Facebook. So anytime there's a problem on Facebook, I write one of the CEOs and I go, hey, Davis, Facebook Messenger's not working. And he's like, we're working on it, Mel, okay. So I'm from the tech world, which means we were the test babies for MySpace and Facebook and Instagram. And I could build a business on social media by the time I was 17 years old. But then again, I understand people who lived before then and didn't have that. So I can kind of translate between the new world and the old world and explain the metaverse as well as explaining a good phone system. So basics.
Well, cheers to all of that, first of all, as I take a sip of my red.
Yes, take a sip of your red.
I love these sort of things because I get to drink, but I'm not a drunk, which is important.
Okay.
How we get sidetracked. The important message that I took from that as well, and certainly to our audience that are listening to this, is that you have, and I'll call them side hustles, you have created businesses that is continuing to grow without you being there. So therefore,
yeah,
and I think that's an important point in any sort of, as entrepreneurs, that's one of the key things when we want to create a business. How do we create a business that doesn't rely on us? Very difficult to do, so then you've got to go through some pain to get there. And I think ideally, and again, you just mentioned right at the start of this, you mentioned it's great to be back home. It's great to be back in Melbourne. And you also, to be fair, you were 3 months overseas?
Yeah, and I was. So I went back and I did some work in New York earlier this year, and I was working from abroad, which I loved. And if you want to see that journey as well, that's online.
Yeah.
And then the second trip, I actually didn't work from abroad. So I left my laptop at home and I went for 6 weeks. And I came back, Paul, and I was panicked. I went to my staff. I said, I'm here. What do we need? Who needs something? And they all were like, we're fine, Mel. I checked in with my clients. I'm like, is everyone okay? They're like, we're good. And that's when I learned that I was asked by the One Roof community, which is a community I'm part of, which if there's any women in here that need to have some support, One Roof is the best business community for women I've ever been. I'm a part of all of them because I'm a networking queen. I'm a part of like 11 different groups, and One Roof is the one I actually go for myself. But that's what they asked on Monday. They said, what is a successful business? And a successful business is if you can walk away and it works on its own. And most businesses aren't like that. If any of you that are listening right now, think about if you walked away right now, would everything be okay? Is there someone else that could sign for things? Is there someone else that has a relationship with these specific clients? And if that's not the case, then you need to change how you're working. Because, you know, Trevor Noah said last night that people always say time is money. Time is money. And he was like, no, time is time. Time is time, and we don't get it back. We never get it back. And so it's really important for us to make sure that we create time to be with our family and create time to be with ourselves and sit with a fire and breathe and relax and not be worried about our business 24/7, because time is time. We never get that back. And in 10 years, are you really going to think about that one time that you had that one client that you were having a difficult time with? No, you won't. But what you will remember is that trip that you took to Bendigo for one weekend with your kids.
Yes.
And you sat and you watched the kangaroos in the mist in the morning. Little things like that is what you're actually going to remember.
100%, 100%. And I could not agree more. That's why, you talk about working smarter instead of harder. It's the same things. You cannot get the time back. So let's continue to work through this because we do have a massive, massive lot to get through. So let's
go.
Let's start with the workplace. The last 2.5 years have been very, very different. So tell us, in your opinion, what has changed, and not only what's changed, because a lot has changed, and I don't think it will return, but what do we need to hold on to?
Yeah, and I think that the thing before that too about internal and external growth is probably where we need to start from before change, because what happened in the pandemic. So before the pandemic, turnover wasn't that long. I used to go into work every day, 50 minutes on the train. 50 minutes. I used to take the train into an office, and I'd work from 8:30 to 5:30, and then I'd take 50 minutes to get home, and then I'd cook dinner and go to sleep, right? And that was a life of like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Absolutely.
It was like a 12-hour workday.
Yep.
So to begin with, time has changed, right? But the pandemic really accelerated the existing trends like remote work. We talk about e-commerce and automation. Those are the three main pillars that massively changed in the pandemic from a technical side. Now, from a personal side, everyone realized what was important in life. And what's important in life is spending time with your family.
Yes.
A lot of men went home and spent time with their kids for the first time. No offense, it's true. They spent all this time and they were like, I actually really like being a dad.
Yeah.
And they wanted to spend more time with their kids. Like, people had more of a flexible working environment where they were able to go pick up their kids from school and then go back to work at home. And people were able to save money on daycare. Like, so much change in the family dynamic, because when you're faced with the end of the world, it kind of really shows what's important. And it always comes back to love. And that's ridiculous to talk in a business show about love, but what changed is the priorities. The priorities of where we spend our time is what really changed.
No, I agree totally. So from let's say the workplace, I totally agree with your comments. And to those of us that choose to be present as well, absolutely. And I think that's an important point. There's others that can't wait to run away back to the office as well. But to the workplace, let's segue this into, let's say, from a culture point of view.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt that's changed. And
Yeah.
look, whether or not things go back to normal next year, whether or not,
Yeah, but what is normal? That's my question. Because I'm hearing a lot of executives say, we would need to go back to normal, and I need everybody back in the office between 8:30 and 5:30 every day. And what is normal? Because the world is always changing, everything is always changing, and us holding on to this old world, you're going to suffocate your staff. You're going to suffocate the culture. And the first thing that we have to keep is the flexibility. It is proven that it is proven by the Harvard Review, I'm making sure the numbers are okay in my head, that working from home increased productivity by 16%. 16% productivity for a company. So why would we not hold on to this working from home flexibility? So also 4-day work week has been proven now in Norway. We got Denmark doing it. We got all these different companies all over the world that are making flexible environments and 4-day work week. Those two things are really, really important. And they're also shown that the 4-day workday, there's no decrease in productivity, none, which means that your staff, for 8 hours that you're paying them each week, are not doing things that they could get done.
Timesheets might prove that as well over the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah. And who created this 40-hour work week, and who created
100%.
An ancient society that is long ago. So what is normal? We are not in the 1940s anymore.
The only challenge, and I'll challenge this because I know, obviously, working with accountants every single day of the week, the only challenge that we may need to find better solutions for, and I'm not saying I have the answers by any means here, is the accounting industry is a very different industry to any other industry.
Yeah,
I think it's certainly, when we're talking people as well, I think the training element, when you're trying to show someone, if you're trying to train someone, if you're trying to, if you're trying to mentor someone from a leadership aspect, and partners would probably agree with me here, put it in the chat line or wherever you want, please, that I think the partners would find it a lot harder to train new team members. You don't get to sit next to them. You don't need to, yes, the young
I have
people,
an answer.
your young, yeah, good. Your younger culture may want to use the screen. The older people like me may wish to print out first, while the young people have got 3 screens going. We still want to have a printout copy to work through that because we understand that better. It's what we've been. So that would be the only challenge to find a solution to in the future, I feel.
I have an answer for that. So first off, you need a printout. That's great, but you are also in charge. So the partners, these are the people that already know the information. So if you want your staff to know the information, you have to change how you teach, and you have to change your approach, because it's not about you. You already know this information, and to try to teach someone else that way, it's not going to work. So number one is I always have an open Zoom, which means an open Zoom, even when I'm in a meeting. So as a partner, if you're a partner of a firm and you need to have someone training up there as a manager, they're coming into power, they're coming into leadership, they need to know how you work with clients, because accounting is number one. We teach people spreadsheets, we teach people numbers as they get their CA. We don't teach them leadership. We don't teach them communication with clients, which is the key to accounting, and you know it. Holding on to someone for over 30 years as a client isn't about how good you do their numbers. It's about the relationship you have with them and the level of communication you have with them. So I always have an open Zoom, which means that if I'm in a meeting with you, my team is on another screen and they can hear me having this meeting, unless it's confidential information or something like that. If it's a learning experience, then they're there. It's like they're in the room sitting down next to you. Even if I'm not in a meeting, I have an open Zoom where my staff can see my screen. And they can go, what is Mel working on right now? Oh, she's designing the campaign for Dylan Klein. So there's an open aspect of having people there. Now, invasion of privacy and things like that, it's really not that, because if they were there physically, they would be sitting down next to you. And if you need to take a moment, I say, okay, I'm going to go have lunch. I turn off my screen. But basically, it's a miniature metaverse. Now, that kind of scares the crap out of people, but it's literally, it's an office online, and it's open rooms. So if you're working on something and you want your staff who has already signed a confidentiality agreement, remember, when they sign on as your employee, in that legal document that we make everybody sign, it says the information with the company stays within the company, which means let them see what you're doing. Even if you're in the office, I highly recommend opening your doors so at least they can hear you as you talk with clients, as you're going through things, because that's the major aspect of people that are partners saying, I'm stressed out, I need some support, I need someone else to take on some of these things. And people around them are like, we don't even know what you're doing. We don't know who this client is. We have no idea. And so just opening yourself up to being like, okay, this is what I'm doing. And you can do that through the screen. It really works.
So do you feel that there's, let's call it the positives, talking back to workplace culture for a second, the positives to take away and how you can still continue to grow the organization through that?
Yeah.
Because I think that would be one of the biggest challenges that partners may be dealing with.
Yeah.
I threw it out to you guys in the chat. If you want to share anything, please let me know. So I think that's still and I feel it is through the comments, through the challenges. And don't forget, we've got now, because we've got probably a sort of profit master who's actually one of our supporters. So through the lack of good people here, a lot more people are going offshore. They are going to your BPOs. We've got a team, most accountings, we had a lunch last week, and the group of firms, I was probably in a group of maybe 7 or 8 firms up this end of the table. They were all using people in the Philippines or in India. So there's that extra layer of, again, coping with technology, people, depending on the role as well. Yeah. They are already external to the business. So there's a little bit of change mindset needs to come into play, no doubt.
There is. And also just letting those people in. If you want them to work for your company, they need to understand your company, which means that you need to give them more information and more access and to have more time like this communicating with each other. There's 2 other things I'd like to say about culture. And one of them really is, especially if partners are having a hard time, like if numbers are starting to go down and you're talking to the same group of people that you've been talking to for 40 years, it's time to get other people into that major room. So the main table of decision makers is probably the same people you've been talking to your whole life. You went to school with them, you went to university with them, your kids play together. It's that same little bubble. And success in long-term of accounting and law firms, honestly, is diversity in leadership, diversity in voices of age, of gender, of culture. Those 3 things are the most important things in that final room. And there's people that probably work for your company that have been working for your company for 10 years that know this company as well as you do, but they're not a part of the decision-making. I also highly recommend partners invite the managers in, invite the woman that's been working the front desk for 20 years to come into that final partner meeting to make some decisions that will help the culture, because no one knows that company more from the outside and from the inside than the people that have been there the longest and who know the rules of belonging. Now, rules of belonging, look at me, I'm a nerd, I got a pile of books. Culture book called Rules of Belonging. It's by Fiona Robertson. This is the best book on culture I can recommend.
Yes.
Look at this. It's tiny, and you could flip to random pages and just read it and go, this is nice. This is nice. And then this is Rules of Belonging. I use it all the time, and it's the best culture book, small book. What's next? Let's go.
Brilliant. And just on culture, just as again, to all of you listening, and you may have got an invitation on this, my next Empire Masterclass, I can't even say it. Maybe I should stop drinking. My next Empire Masterclass guest is talking about culture in the workplace as well. So I'm talking about building a brand and culture and growing. And this is a guy that's been around from a small office to now a multinational, 300 people. So please make sure October 20, tune back in. but I agree. The way that Fiona talks about things as well, in a brilliant book as well. So those are the sorts of things, again, that we can start to see and make a difference with everything. So having just flown back from Melbourne, having just flown back into Melbourne this morning, you can tell I was up at 6 o'clock. No, I wasn't. My flight was at 6 o'clock. I was up at 4 o'clock. I hosted a Hall Chadwick dinner last night, and this started an interesting conversation at our table as well, where that report that was released, was it last year? I think it was last year, with regards to the gender pay gap, and the CEO of the CAANZ, Ainsley, came out and was very vocal in her opinion of the pay gap. And look, it was significant, don't get me wrong, but there's been a fair bit of noise made about this. What's your thoughts on it?
All right. So a couple things specifically just about the pay gap. Not only as a woman. Okay, first off, women get measured in a different way than men in the workplace. If a guy slacks off for about 2 years, they're like, that's Jake. Jake's just being a rascal. He'll get around to it. If a woman slacks off for 2 years, she's fired. Like, there is, first off, a mental thing about women and men and how we are balanced in the workplace and what is our worth and what is our value. Now, that is not only from men, but also from women, because it's instilled in us as well. So let's say a woman applies for a job. She has 7 of the 10 skills they're asking for. She's still not going to apply, because she's missing 3 skills, and she's been taught that if she doesn't have all the 10 skills to fit perfectly for this value, that she is not going to apply for this job to have this much money. Now, if a man looks at the same set of skills,
I was going to say, are you going to say, if I looked at it and went, well, I've only got 3 of the 10, I'm going to be confident enough to apply?
Yeah, you are. You're just going to apply, and you're going to be like, you're going to apply. And not only are you going to apply, once you get the job, you're going to be like, it's 70,000 a year, but I really need 80. And they're going to be like, you want to know what? Sure. You seem confident that you're going to be able to hone the other skills. I trust you. Let's go with this. Versus if a woman said, okay, I have 7 of the 10 skill. Would it be okay if I asked for 80 versus 70? And they say, you know what? We're going to start you on 70. And it doesn't matter, again, if this person saying this is a woman or a man. It is so instilled in our society about value versus skills for women and for men. Also, gender pay gap just sucks over time for women in general, because we spend more on things. Like right now, I'm wearing eyeliner. You are not wearing eyeliner. This eyeliner costs $50. Every 4 months, I got to spend $50 on this. See, you don't have to spend $50 on this. And if I don't put my eyeliner on, Paul, you know what the people say to me in the meeting room? They say, where the hell are you tired today, Mel? Are you ill? Are you okay? So women spend more money on things. Women also have babies. It's just the technical aspect of being a woman, which means that in our career of our life, if we're making already 60% of what men are making, we're making 60 grand for every 100 grand that men are making in the same job, doing the same thing, but Jake is slacking off and I'm working my booty off, so I don't have time for any side hustles or anything else. And then I got to have these babies, which is going to take years out of my life, whether I like it or not, whether I am a hustler who is okay with morning sickness and then 4 hours of meetings. It doesn't matter. I'm going to lose money. I'm going to lose money from having children, whether I like it or not. And then at a certain point, we also have menopause, which we never talk about in the workplace. And that's literally years of being ill. And so for years, women lose money already. And then on top of that, we're getting paid half the price, and I gotta buy eyeliner. Okay, Paul, so what do I think about this? I think in general, pay women 15% more than you pay men, because we gotta buy more stuff, because society and the rules of belonging of the culture of the entire society says that we need to do all these things, including buying tampons. So I can't even.
Now, one, you don't know. I've been accused a lot of times being a very metro male, so you don't know I don't wear eyeliner. And 2, do you know how much this tan costs? No, I'm joking. But I agree with you from a point of view of, and we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask you soon of how we can support women to to become like that? Because I still remember you just triggered me, and she won't be online, but my ex-EA, who I just saw, she's in Las Vegas at the moment. Amy used to come in, she used to say to me, PJ, you want me to look like this, don't you? This is what she used to say to me. And I'd go, of course I do. You look fantastic. You look very professional and you look great. She goes, do you know how much money I spend on looking like this? Because that was a part of we wanted our people to look and feel great. So, and you know what? When she said that to me, I agreed with her. And I remember we were talking about the old pay rise, and it came up and she said, well, this is what I'd like to have, but this is what I'm happy to settle for. So it was interesting. She pumped herself up and then she brought herself back down at the same time, which I think is what you were saying.
Yeah,
and
men would never do that.
Yeah, correct. And I said, do you know what? I agree with you. I agree with you. And I'm going to give you that extra, because that is, again, it was the belief in and understanding, although she was very quick to pull herself back down as well. So it's a pretty good point.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting point as well.
How we value each other. You know, the other thing about just going to the next step of like how do we help women feel?
Yes, correct.
It's hard because I started playing golf. Let's be very clear. I am not a golfer. I did not grow up golfing. I've
seen your LinkedIn feed though. You're always out there.
I'm golfing now. I'm a member of a golf club. But my mother was a cleaning lady. I grew up very poor. Golf was not a part of my language at all. And so when I first went to go golf, I was like, okay, I need to be perfect. I looked up all the rules. I looked up the course. I looked up like how far each hole was. I looked up like, you know, oh my God, I can which one do I use for which length? Like I was very, okay, I bought all the correct uniform and I got there and I was ready to go. And there was a group of men in playing before us, and I'm watching these guys play and they're wearing whatever the hell they want. These are all businessmen, by the way. They're smoking cigars, they're drinking, they skipped the holes they didn't like. They were like, I don't like that hole. Let's go to 4. All right, Bob, let's go to 4. They like would skip a hole and literally with one hand sometimes they just swing it. Balls are going everywhere. And I thought that men were really good at golf. I thought that in my heart, I believed that every man that went to go play golf was like really cared about like every aspect of the sport and was like a perfectionist like I was. And then I realized, I was like, men don't need to be good at something to do something and enjoy it. Women have a tendency, we think that we need to be perfect or at least almost understanding of everything, of something, even before we try it. So my whole like thought process for women at this moment is to ask for the raise, is to ask for the seat at the table, and to really ask for your worth, because you don't need to be perfect. And men aren't doing this. So we need to kind of get like this, especially in Australian society as well. You guys have the thing where you tall poppy syndrome, right? Like I just got, I'm a finalist for CEO Magazine, Young Executive of the Year. 500 applicants, I'm top 10. It's a big deal. But as I'm presenting myself, I feel myself as an Australian going, so this is happening. Like I didn't even say it yet today because I was nervous of even saying that out loud, because I'm worried of the tall poppy syndrome, which is in this country is anyone gets too big, you slice them down. And women tend to do that even more. For some reason, we do that. And so we got to stop doing that. And in general, just ask for the raise, ask for the seat at the table. If you know that you would be a valuable asset at the next level of where you work, say, look, Bob, I know this company inside and out. Do I have value to you? And Bob's going to say, absolutely, Cindy. Cindy, you have great value to me. You've been here for 4 or 5 years. And you say, Bob, it's time for me to move to the next level. Like I need 80 grand a year and I need that corner office because guess what? I'm ready to be a manager and I'm ready to take this on for you and to help you. But we don't do that. We tend to wait. We go, okay, It's okay. Next year, maybe someone will recognize me. Maybe next year, someone will give me that raise or give me the seat at the table. It's just not going to happen. And what's the worst that can happen? You know what? Bob's going to say, Cindy, in the budget this year, it's just not going to happen. That's great. But the second, Cindy, you see Bob giving Jake a freaking bonus for no reason and Jake hasn't been working for 2 years, you make sure that you get in that room. So yeah.
Jake's doing okay, isn't he?
Jake's doing great.
Hey, let's get into leadership. So really good thoughts and opinions on what you just said then, and I support them 100%. Also sharing that story about Amy Howe, and we worked very well together. She's probably the best EA I've had, but she had the confidence to come and say that as well, which she'd still go down as the best EA that I've had.
Love it.
Leadership's an interesting one. Let's get your opinion on what makes a good leader.
Okay, 2 things very specifically. If you have nothing else, appreciation and trust. If your staff doesn't feel appreciated, they will leave. If your staff doesn't feel trusted, they will leave. And you need to appreciate them and you need to trust them. Now, what we learned from this whole working from home thing and everyone panicked, my staff's going to be messing around all day and blah, blah, blah. They weren't. Everything got done because people actually like to be proud of their job. They like to feel that they are contributing to a bigger picture. So 2 things, if nothing else, appreciation every single day. It will take you 10 minutes, 30 minutes tops if you got 300 staff members to send a message to each one of your staff members. And if they did something specific that day, you say, hey, the file on the James family, you did a great job on that. Thank you so much. Hey, Cindy, I just want you to know that I appreciate you. That's it. You say one nice thing to your staff every single day, you have a lifetime worth of staff. Now, trust, constantly just saying it out loud. If someone's saying, I'm so sorry, I finished the James file and I'll get done this other file. That's okay. I trust you. You'll get it done when you get it done. I trust you. And then that's when, also it weeds out the bad stuff and the good stuff, because within 2 weeks of that, within 2 weeks of you not having to harp on people and having to be like, okay, I need this, this, and this, and this, and I need to watch you do this, and where's the timesheet, and I'm going to put the little sensor on the computer so I can watch you. Get rid of all that shit. People want to feel empowered. People want their privacy, but appreciation and trust. 2 things, that's it. And then you'll have the best staff.
So to all you guys listening to this, interesting. Maybe I'm a big person on reflection. I like reflecting on things, and it takes time for me to do that and reflect on it. So as I think back to my own situation, ask yourself, now that you're listening to this, you may want to take some time, do it tonight even. What's your level of, if you wanted to rate yourself out of, self-assessment's always great. If you wanted to rate yourself on the 2 things that Mel just said then, so appreciation and trust. And she even sort of went through a couple of little things that you can start doing. Do you do it? So there's no right or wrongs. It's more of that's the great thing about a self-reflection. You've got the ability to look at this and say, what can I start doing differently? And this is about growing. This educational show is about growing and how we can all take the little 1%ers and make them add up and get them into compounding 1%ers, and it makes a massive difference. So just give thought to that. Just give thought to it.
Yeah. And also the other thing I can tell, that because people always say this and they say, okay, well, I can't trust this person to do this because I'm the only one that knows how to do this. Well, then that's your mistake, because yes, you're super busy, but take the time to teach someone else. If you teach someone how to drink water, then they're going to learn how to drink water and you won't have to do it anymore. You can actually start really passing off things. If you really take the time to say, okay, this is the James file. This is who this person is. This is their trust. This is the corporation. This is how much money they like to invest every year. This is the sister, which we got to kind of deal with, which she's kind of crazy, but don't worry. She does always sign at the end of the year. Like, teach the people around you and then watch them and then trust them.
Mm.
And then you don't have it on you anymore. So in the long term, trust and appreciation really works for you, because then these people are empowered, they're working, they feel appreciated, they're paid well, they're on a 4-day work week, they get to pick up their kids when they need to, they're flexible environments. This is the magical little universe that everyone's like, well, that doesn't work. Why do we have to be miserable in the workplace? When did we decide in the mid 90s, like, that we needed to have this kind of like very sterile environment of the workplace and these hours and these things? We decided this a long time ago for no freaking reason, because it fed the head man in these multi-million-dollar corporations, which are not the everyday life anymore.
I'd agree with you. And then that's the great thing about what I call self-reflection. You've got the ability to do this, and you've got the ability to say, right.
I have 2 books really quickly.
Sort of, you've got the ability to say, what type of leader do I want to become? It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It's about what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Just 2 quicks for that. So this one is about leadership. It's called Lead the Future. Okay. This is a great book. Again, tiny. All these corporate partners tell me, I don't have time. Look how big this book is. You can read a page a day. Page. And every page has amazing information. And then the other one as a leader, the definitive book of body language. This is really important because your staff sometimes are going to be young, they're going to be shy, they're not going to be able to tell you what they need. And you're going to say, hey, can you do this? And they're going to be like this. And they're going to be like, okay, they're not okay right now. Like, body language, to understand body language is really key, because most people don't know how to communicate anymore. The art of argumentation is dead.
Yes.
And sometimes something will be happening with the staff member for years and we won't know it because they didn't say anything. But if we just read this book, we'd understand, hey, I'm kind of noticing that your body is saying, your body language, don't say body, that your body language is, yeah, don't say body. Anyway, that's a really great book.
But
and
two great resources. You may just want to even, okay, and Trust.
And Trust by Conor O'Malley. Trust.
Okay.
Look at the title of the book. Done.
I was going to say, you may want to just put those in the chat bar so everyone's got a little bit of a piece of that. Tools. Let's talk about, again, you've just reeled off some books there. The good part about books, though, and tools, whether and to be honest with you, I spend hardly any time in the car anymore. So therefore, listening to audio books or whatever it may be is something that I no longer do. I love getting books like yours. As you can tell, I've got a shite load of books behind me, and I often use those as a reference point. My brain goes into too many things when I'm listening to things, so I don't do that. But what other tools can you suggest to help current day leaders and future day leaders? Yeah,
well, current day leaders, what happens is that we train people. Let's say accounting. We're in accounting. Let's be in accounting. They do numbers great. They're handling files really well. And so you say, you know what? I'm going to promote this person to manager. And this person who has only been dealing with clients and files is all of a sudden dealing with other staff members with no training. Why is a society that we're doing this? Stop doing this. So if someone's becoming a manager, before they become a manager, give them the tools that they need and the education that they need so they can become a leader. First off, public speaking. We're asking accountants to speak in front of other people. This is their worst fear. Worst fear for majority.
Well, to be fair, sorry to interrupt. To be fair, it's probably most people's fear.
Yes.
I've may come natural to you and me, and that's probably why we're doing this.
Yeah,
but I would say to a high percentage of people, it doesn't come natural.
I don't know if it comes natural. I've had 20 years of education at the highest level in public speaking. So I have a master's in Shakespeare. My job used to be on stage in front of 500 to 5,000 people and to sing and act. And that was my job. And I trained with voice in the highest of levels. I was trained by the vocal coach for Jude Law and Daniel Radcliffe. She is a dear friend of mine. My singing coach is the Broadway coach for the cast of Beautiful. And I've been very lucky in my life to have some of the best teachers my voice teacher was also a friend with like Benedict Cumberbatch. The point is that the people that taught me taught the people that speak on the biggest stages in the world. So when people say, oh, you're natural at this for certain things, it's a skill like anything else. And a skill just needs to be honed, which means that for leadership speaking, basics, you need to warm up before you speak. It's a muscle. Speaking is a physical thing. And if you're all closed off and tight, then your voice isn't going to go anywhere in the room. And most leaders in accounting start by speaking to their team, right? So a group of 10 people. So even morning meetings need to have a couple of things. Write your speech like you're an actor. Write it. Write out some bullet points you want to say of that day. Add something fun. Each morning meeting, add something fun, whether that's something fun in the news or a sports announcement from the weekend or a weather announcement. Good morning, team, and welcome. The weather today is going to be 21 degrees and part sunny, but we're barely going to see it because we're inside because we are in the bass tax season and it is time for us to work 12 hours a day. All right, let's go around the room. Who needs something? It's about having fun, warming up your body, warming up your voice. So actually looking online and doing vocal exercises. It's going through a speech. If you have to speak in front of your investors, if you need to speak in front of, clients that are big and a big ass table, you need to have your speech down. You need to highlight the different sections, the different parts. You need to circle different words so they can trigger in your head and remember. You need to memorize something. How do you memorize something? Speak it out loud over and over again. So little tiny things like that. Because what we do is we go, okay, so today is like, that's not it. And people always say, Mel, so you're telling me if I treat it like a script of an actor, that it's going to help me with public speaking and I'll be better. And I'm like, yes, 100%, because it's a muscle like anything else. And the more you do it, the more that fight or flight that triggers.
Yes.
Which is the number one thing of public speaking. You feel like you're dying when you get on stage sometimes. But the more you practice, the more you learn how to breathe, the more you feel it, that you've gone over it and you know it and it's highlighted and it's circled and you have some jokes in there. Doesn't need to be great jokes. We're accountants, okay? We are not, well, let's be clear, I am not an accountant.
Dad jokes.
Yeah, dad jokes. But even if you're not like that, things that you enjoy. Let's say you enjoy Harry Potter, okay? Great. As a leader, each morning, you will say one Harry Potter fact. You will say one, it doesn't matter, but make it personable each day. Because if not, if we just go every single day, go, all right, everyone give me your lists. All right, okay, that staff is not going to stay there.
Correct. You've got to, well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. You've got to make it fun, which then makes it interactive.
Yes, and it doesn't need to be difficult. People say, okay, well, I don't have time to make it fun. I'm exhausted. Like, that's great. Pick one quote. And if it's the weather, great job. Just one thing that has nothing to do with what the list is on for that day. But that's what I did for a long time, is I helped public speaking for corporates. Yeah.
Brilliant. Great little, and again, if we had more time, we could go into a lot more detail, but I think what you have provided is for everyone to give thought to how they can do that, and they can make that fun. And to be fair, even if you're doing your meetings over Zoom, Teams, whatever it may be, you can still make it fun. We're making this, I suppose people think I'm Sri Lankan. For those that don't know you, I often get confused for an Italian because I use my hands as well. That's a part of my body language. It's a part of how I express myself. I don't usually like to sit down. I like to stand up because I've got better energy when I can stand up. You can start to use your energy and your voice and your body language to get a greater response. So all of you said then, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Look, we're getting on to 12:55, so I'm just conscious of time. Peeps, if there's any people that would want to ask a question, please drop it into the Q&A. I know I saw one just before with regards to where can I get the books and Amazon. Yeah, I saw Mel type that out. So again, these are the sorts of things she's putting that into the chat right now, to the different types of books and tools. You know, these are sorts of things as well. But if you're going to commit to buying, which is great, it's the first step, commit to blocking out time to learning as well. So
Yeah.
it's one thing to buy, it's another thing to do. It's the old take a horse to water, they can't make it drink. So again, use the biggest, I'm pointing it to it behind me, the biggest thing that wastes our time is the TV. So if that's something you would like to replace, I know Mel's got her Fire on her TV. You can probably see it in the
You said
background.
TV, and I'm like, you understand that anyone from my generation below, we don't watch TV at all. So the number one time waster is TikTok right now,
Okay.
and Instagram. Those
Yeah.
are the number one time wasters for my generation. But I love that you said TV. That was great, because no one in my age, we don't even watch TV.
Yeah, in the 50+ category, that's what we do. So yeah, look, there are elements there. So and look, I'm a very structured person. If you saw my calendar, structure, everything is in my calendar 3 to 4 weeks in advance. So therefore, I know what I can do and what I can't do, and when I want to allocate certain things, and that includes all personal things, even reading, personal development. So little tidbits like that can help. There's no doubt about it. Question. Oh, it's the same question. No, there's another one there. Sorry. Can you please send the titles and the authors again? We'll do that, Grace. I think, Mel, did you just put that into the chat?
They're there. There's no other books by these titles. If you literally just type in Lead the Future, it should pop up, and Rules of Belonging, it should come up.
There's another one here. How do you prepare yourself for stressful days at work, yet still manage to be effective at work?
Coffee.
Wine?
No, Paul, no drinking. Thank you. How do I prepare myself for stressful days? It's really about breathing. Honestly, this sounds fucking crazy. Pardon my language. If you spend 5 minutes, shut your office door, and you turn on a breathing thing, people are like, Mel, I'm not a hippie. I don't do this. I'm also not. Let's be very clear. But breathing actually calms down your nerves. Yes. And if you spend 5 minutes breathing, you'll get 4 times the amount of work done. Because you're breathing, you're giving your body oxygen, food, eat. Accountants, you don't eat because you work too much and then you shove bad food in your mouth. No, stop it. And that doesn't mean be complicated. Toast with a little bit of peanut butter and some honey on it. You got some protein, you got some honey for you. It's delicious. Eat in the morning, take 5 minutes to breathe. And then it's also about mental, positive outlook. Everything's going to be okay. What if it actually works out? What if it actually works out? And trust and appreciation within your staff, just starting from that base, being like, hey team, I know this month is going to be hard. I know it is, because it is October. We got to finish the BASes. We got to finish all the personal taxes. Like, look, I work in the accounting world for a couple of years. I know where you're at. But if you actually as a team say, let's do this together. I believe in us. Let's work as a team. I appreciate you. I trust you. Let's get it done. If someone's falling a little bit, let's help them. Let's balance it out. But personally, as a leader, eat in the morning, make sure that you breathe for 5 minutes, have one fun thing for your staff each day, just a little moment of checking in, and trust and appreciate them. Done.
Done. What else can I say? I can only say thank you. I love it. Again, they're the most simplistic things that we can do. Fair to say we do breathe every day, but it's the way you breathe. There's a very, very difference in letting really good oxygen deep into your diaphragm and letting the toxins out. So really, really great feedback and a great piece of advice. So there's a few things there that you guys can all reflect on and do and buy and structure and just start putting into your plan. Because again, it's not about, don't worry about the past. The past is gone. You can't change the past. All you can do is you can improve for the future. Okay. So these are the important factors that hopefully we can leave with you. Melissa, David, thank you so much. Thanks again for sharing your thoughts, your wisdom. Again, we never have enough time, but this is the sort of thing that, you know, in 60 minutes, we've jam-packed everything into a 1-hour show, which has been fantastic. And again, to all you guys listening that want the recording of this, it'll be up on our YouTube channel, our PPE TV Plus channel, probably in the next 3 or 4 days, once it goes into post-production and it comes back out and it gets uploaded. So go in there, go into YouTube, search for it. All of our other content is there. So you've got the ability, hit the subscribe button, and then it will pop up and tell you when it's been uploaded. So Mel, thank you so much for joining us today. To all of you guys that have joined us, thank you again. Thank you for your ongoing support to Professional Partners Education, your own education, more importantly. And to all of our supporters, thank you. Again, stay tuned. If you haven't already got the invitation, look out for my Accountants Empire Masterclass. It's at my next live show. It's on the 20th of October. It's at 12 p.m. It's Eastern Daylight Saving Time. Lock it in. And then if you haven't got the invitation, hit me up or hit Mel up on LinkedIn. Hit me up on LinkedIn if you haven't got it. Because again, if you want to continue to learn, especially in the workplace culture, I've always believed, and Mel said it as well, you've got to learn from mentors. I've always believed in what I would call constant and never-ending improvement. So if anyone's an Anthony Robbins fan, they'll know that. And Anthony Robbins is one of the greatest, I don't know how he describes himself nowadays, but call him a personal development mentor. He's always been a mentor of mine, and there's heaps of his books behind me. He talks about can I, so constant and never-ending improvement. And so that's what this is about. So hopefully we've been able to provide you with something that you can take away, hopefully 10, 20 things that you can take away, you can reflect on and work on how you can start to improve your leadership skills in the future. So until I see you again, thank you. Signing off, Melissa David, thank you. Signing off.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Thank you.